Better believe I'm a stand-up guy. Would've been had a couple hundred hoes sit down on my guy. But who am I kidding? Not even reeling would've had me chilling. If given the wrong cause, probably would've started dealing. Got me feeling like a villain, cause I'm Palestinian. Won't be sitting still until my knowledge on that Russell Simmons. You timid, you running like a Simmons. And I'm revving like a Hemi. God, keep an eye on me like Betty.
You are listening to the Palestine in America podcast. For our 2020 music edition, which is available online at PalestineInAmerica.com, our contributor, Yasmeen Sheikah, interviewed Palestinian rapper Phay. Phay, who's based in Atlanta, got on a phone call with Yasmeen to discuss everything from his new project Bake Sale to the struggles of working during a pandemic, and so much more. Stay tuned for a great and lively conversation. Thanks again for listening.
So I took a break with recording music during Ramadan. And then after Ramadan, the whole quarantine thing was still going on and stuff. So it's been really it's been challenging to kind of stay motivated through all of this because, especially for artists like us, we try to connect with as many people as we can on a personal level. And with, venues being shut down and all the cities shutting down their venues and no live shows going on, it's kind of hard. You got to kind of transition to stay in, to meet new fans or to introduce yourself to new fans. So it's been pretty challenging. It's been, from a creative standpoint, when you're locked in the house and cooped up in the house for so long, it's kind of run out of things to talk about.
Right.
But alhamdulillah, I finished a 10-song project that I'm going to be releasing this year when the time is right, when I feel like people are ready to hear it,
Oh, okay. That sounds interesting. Is there anything that you can tell us about it so far?
Yeah, so the whole theme of it is the name of the project is called Bake Sale, and the whole theme is it's themed around this whole bakery theme. And my art director actually draws up the blueprints, and then I have a friend who I went to middle school with who's a professional baker. So all the cover artwork is a different cookie or a different baked good, and I just kind of wanted to elevate, the visual representation of the project with baked goods and just combining so many people's different skills, culinary art / bakery / my art director who's a graphic designer and does everything. And I kind of wanted to combine all of those because I've never seen it done in music. So it's a broad theme of just a bake sale.
Ah, okay. What made you want to go down, the bake sale route? You know
what? Just because it looked cool. One day I was just scrolling through Instagram and I was just oh shit, this girl. So I was just scrolling through Instagram and she does a lot of people's wedding. She actually did my wedding cake and it was amazing. And she does other people's wedding cakes and anniversary cakes and birthdays and all those celebrations. And I was just yo, she's so good at what she does. I kind of want to put her skills on display. And I try to theme all of my projects, even if it's just a broad theme, just to tie everything together. And Bake Sale just seemed like a really cool theme to play off because you could do so much, I was thinking about having a listener kitchen while she teaches people how to make their own cookies while the music is playing, potentially selling cookies with each single that comes out. You know what I'm saying? It's such a broad, maybe pop-up shops with cookies and merch and stuff like that. It's just such a broad theme that you could really play off of. So it's not I'm infatuated with baking or I don't even know, but it's just one of those things. This could really make for a really cool theme.
Yeah, that sounds so interesting. And like you said, I don't think anybody's really ever done something like that before. That's really cool.
Yeah, the album cover is my favorite. It's like a cookie. It's like a cookie of me. And it's a bake. Everything is baked. Even the parental advisory little cake on the sticker is with sprinkles on it, and it's really tight. It's super visually pleasing. So that's what I'm trying to create. I'm trying to create a visually pleasing project that also is complemented by the music. So I want the audio to be super pleasing too. And I feel like I accomplished. It's my favorite music that I've made so far, and it's a lot of it's lighthearted and happy and uplifting. And that's why I didn't know if right now is the right time for that. I'm saying, because it's not nothing. I mean, there's hints of of the social injustices that black and brown people face in America and stuff, but it's not like themed after. That's not the main theme, and I just didn't want to come off as dismissive. Sense.
No, I totally understand where you're coming from. Actually, I have a couple questions about that later on in our interview, but why don't we start off a little bit talking about your early life for a bit. So I know that you're based in Atlanta, but I see that you were born in Chicago.
Yeah, I was born in Chicago. I lived there for 11 years. Super big part of my life. Like I'm the biggest Chicago Bulls fan ever. Even after moving to Atlanta, I just remember watching Jordan play and the city going up in flames every time they won a championship. And a huge Bears fan. So culturally, I'm really representative of Chicago in terms of like sports teams and stuff like that. I went back 3 times this last year. I have really close friends that I consider family that live there. And it just has a really special place in my heart.
Yeah, I mean, if you asked me, I would say Chicago's the best city in the country as somebody who lives in Chicago. But
Oh man, no, it gets too cold there. I'm be honest with you. I think Atlanta's the best city in the world, actually.
oh, really? Why is that?
It's so it's different here. It's like a hub for everything. We have the busiest airport. You know what I'm saying? We have Delta here. The Coca-Cola was invented here. We have the best wings. I don't know if wings are a thing in Chicago. I know you guys like eating like at Portillo's and stuff. What are the little Italian what are they called? The Italian beefs and pizza and deep dish and stuff. But we have a really up and coming food. There's an up and coming, very vast food culture out here. And like you could get anything from like Indian street food, and it's very. I mean, Chicago's been on that wave, of course, but here it's really growing. Like we have like a little Somalia and little like Ethiopia with different cuisines, and an Atlanta staple is like American deli with the hot wings and JR Crickets, and it's just the food is amazing. I think entertainment is really focused here. Everybody's shooting their movies in Atlanta because the taxes are cheaper than New York or LA. Tyler Perry has the studios here. Hunger Games was shot here. A lot of these Netflix shows like Stranger Things at Gwinnett Mall. And it's just one of those places where I don't know. I just feel like anything artistic or anything entertainment, it has to before it goes, mainstream or worldwide. So I think like especially in urban music and hip hop and R&B, Atlanta is the the tastemaker for that trap sound and that sound that everybody's following. So I don't know. I just feel like Atlanta is just a pioneer city.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, would you consider Atlanta home?
Yeah, I'm be honest with you. I love Chicago to death, right? But I had very, my memories in Chicago were my mom wouldn't let us like go outside too far. So like I lived a pretty confined life. And I wasn't like sheltered to the point where they didn't let us go outside. But I guess they were worried about the neighborhood that we lived in, and we could only play like 100 yards down the street. And I just remember just staying, going to school, coming back home, and then we would take trips to like Palestine and the Urdun where my grandparents relocated after the occupation.
Okay. So where in Chicago did you live?
So we lived in Cicero. I was born in Des Plaines. We lived all over the place. Cicero, Des Plaines. My dad was a hummus maker. He was a chef, and he used to make hummus on the side to try to supplement his income. There was 6 of us, and we lived like, he was just working like 3 shifts. So he started making his own hummus, and he would, Ziad Brothers, like the worldwide brand now that's all over the place. Yeah, I remember going with him Cicero and just picking up hummus beans from them and stuff like that. So it's amazing to see them like in Atlanta when you go to like a grocery store like Publix or Kroger or a grocery store that you guys have. You guys still have Dominic's over there or something, or is that old news?
I think they got rid of them around here, actually.
Dominic's. My dad actually worked at Sunset Foods. I'm not sure if that's still there.
Not sure.
It was like a boutique like supermarket, but yeah, man, I just remember him taking us there, and now it's like a worldwide brand where it's literally distributed in any big corporation, which is amazing for them. But yeah, I mean, that's where we grew up.
Yeah. So let's talk about your Palestinian family for a second. Where in Palestine is your family from?
So my dad is from Jenin, and my mom is from a small village in Jenin called Yabed. It's a tobacco farm village, and they're fellahin and stuff like that. So they talk with the chel a lot, which is tight to me. When I come out of it, I try to speak like a fellah because I think it's cool.
It is cool. My family speaks Spanish too. It's all good. I'm from Batuya.
Like I call my nephews like chilab and stuff like that. So like, it's tight.
Yeah. I mean, what was the last time you went back to Palestine?
Well, man, it's been so long. It's been since I was 2009 was the last time I went.
Oh wow.
I've been about 5 or 6 times in my life, and I don't know, man. Just a very. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, just a very bittersweet time. Because mainly we spend our time in El Urdun, which, no offense to the Urdun, but it's not really, it's not really popping like that. Like, I used to have the most fun whenever we would take that 2-week trip to, we go to the Jisr of the border and stuff like that. And they'd always give us problems. Like, they knew every protest that me and my sister were at just by looking at like Facebook and stuff. So they would always give us problems at the Jisr, and we would get in for I was probably allowed a 2-week visa. That was the last time I remember. And we went to visit my family, the rest of my family who still lives there. They live in Nazareth, so in Nasser. And I just remember having the best time there. It's just so cool. But then, you got those undertones of the occupation. You realize, damn, we were living, in an occupation. And being in the States, and I know this country has its problems, right? But, you don't see tanks and shit while you're walking outside and different checkpoints to go from state to state or city to city. So you start to realize, wow, this is a very bittersweet reality. This is the land my grandparents came from, and I'm barely allowed to stay here, and I'm not welcome here. That's how I felt. Certain parts you're welcome, of course, but you start going to certain Israeli cities like Tel Aviv and Haifa and stuff like that. You feel it,
Yeah.
So I think that was the last time I went. My mom goes to Urdun a lot. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Urdun, to be honest with you. Just not. But, it's I guess it's good for what it is. I know a lot of people who are Palestini, first, second generation, third generation Palestini who live in Urdun, and they'll be like, yeah, we're Jordanian. We're from Zerkar, we're from Amman, and it's kind of like their Palestinian roots have dissolved already.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm not a huge nationalist. I'm very proud to be Palestinian. I'm very. It's a proud thing. I'm very proud to be Palestinian. Like I don't mention it a lot in my music and stuff like that, but it's something that I feel very close to. And I'm not a huge nationalist, but also at the same time, when you're 2-3 generations removed and you just completely, denounce your nationality, I think it really, I don't know, I think it really, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It's kind of like they're trying to eradicate their own culture. there's so many forces that are trying to eradicate Palestine right now, and they're doing it to themselves. And it's like, oh, I'm Jordanian. You know, they gave us Transjordan. I think that's what it was called when the British gave us the land or whatever. And they're like, well, you know, and it's kind of like it's a political statement to say you're Palestinian, which is also doesn't sit well with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, have you ever like told somebody, yo, hey, I'm Palestinian, that's your nationality? Doesn't exist, or you know, you get that backlash, and it's kind of like, so what do you want me to say?
Right.
You know? So I don't know. I don't have a I don't take a liking to people, you know, denouncing where they're from, or being shy of where they're from, because I think Palestine has in terms of the world, or I think in terms of in the Arab world, we're looked down upon because we don't really have a country, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But we do, you know, and I feel like it, you know, in order for us to maintain our nationalism and stuff like that, we got to keep it alive by saying, yeah, I am Palestinian. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not a political statement. I'm Palestinian. I come from the land of Palestine, and that's it. That's where my grandparents and my ancestors came from. And I think we need to take that negative connotation away from saying I'm Palestinian. I know a lot of people who try to say, you know, I'm Lebanese or I'm Iraqi, and you look a few generations down the line, and their grandparents or their great grandparents were relocated due to the occupation.
Yeah, and I mean, I was reading into you, of course, beforehand. Is it true that your own parents, are Palestinian refugees?
Yeah, they're refugees. My dad would tell you. He remembers just packing all this shit up and just being like, well, where are we going? You know? And my grandparents left everything in their house because they thought they were going to be able to come back. And my grandparents, you know, Allah yarhamhum, they passed away a few years ago. They never went back. They were never allowed to go back. They never saw their house again.
Wow.
And it's one of those things where it's like, wow, they thought it was, they thought it was going to be like a temporary relocation thing, and it turned out to be a lifetime thing.
Yeah. Now, does this pain that you feel, like, you know, when you discuss these things, does that ever like inspire you when you're creating your music?
Yeah, I mean, I was born in America, but I do feel like my parents did a really good job of sending me to, like, you know, Adabi school on Sundays in Chicago. They sent me to Adabi school and you know, Dean school and stuff like that. And I really feel a strong connection with my people. I'm more like, in terms of like nationalism and Dean, like I kind of try to, I'm not going to say like I'm the perfect Muslim. I don't think any of us are, but I try to follow the deen more than you know what I'm saying? If somebody asks me who I am first, I'll say I'm a Muslim before I'm Palestinian, you know what I'm saying? But I'm still very proud to be Palestinian. And you know what I'm saying? And it's just one of those things that it's unfortunate, because anytime you say you're Palestinian, people are going to look at you a certain way. I think even within the Arab world, you know, I have cousins who live in the Khalij and like Saudi and stuff like that, and they get treated like shit, you know, just because they're Palestinian. So I don't think it's a whole world problem.
Yeah. So do you tie your culture into your music at all?
I put hints of my culture in the music. Guys who are way more Palestinian focused in their music, and they talk about the occupation and stuff like that. I think I have a sense of survivor's guilt in terms of, I don't know, it doesn't feel, because the occupation is my family's reality, right? But I don't, and I've experienced it for weeks. You know, if you add all the time I spent in Palestine, maybe 2 months, 3 months, 90 days out of my life, I've seen the occupation. But it's not my reality, me personally. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I
So
totally get you.
I would feel like a fraud if I was, because I'm not going to Palestine every year and fighting for my brothers and sisters' rights and activism. We donate and we do what we can, but I would feel like a fraud if the only thing I talked about was Palestine, because I know real people in Palestine, real family members, my brother-in-law's family, who literally go through that shit every single day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think it's important to tell their stories, but I think that the stories would be way more meaningful if they told it, because I've only experienced a taste of it. They live in it.
Right.
And I don't know. I think it's literally a survivor's guilt type situation where it's like, wow, like I'm literally in the comfort of my own home. And like I said, this country has its issues and shit, but at the end of the day, we don't have to worry about our houses getting bombed or us going through checkpoints and stuff. There is racism here. It's more covert than it is outward, and they're, placed in institutions. But, for the most part, I know I could leave my house and inshallah be safe and not be, a target.
Yeah. No, I totally get you. Going back to your music and your family, are you the only person in music in your family?
Yeah. Well, aside from my uncle, who on my mom's side, he's a wedding singer. Which is unique, because I did a show in DC and I stopped by his house to sleep there, because it was like a road trip type thing. And I just remember him telling me, like, we were watching like Out of Idol at like 3 in the morning. And like, I don't know, he almost brought me to tears, because he was like, wallahi, I wish that I had parents that honed in on musical skill, because I could have been one of these guys. You know what I'm saying? You could see, I don't know, it's just like his dream kind of died, and he kind of like does it, but he's older now, He's not like a Muhammad Asaf where like the trajectory's up from here.
Yeah.
Kind of like, my grandma used to beat his ass when he'd come home at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and she'd be like, and you're out there with the, with the bad guys and the Zaranin. I think that's how you say it. And just like, you're just not, and it wasn't seen as a noble career. It was just like, this guy's out at all times of the night singing at different people's weddings. It's kind of like they used to see it as like a douchebag career, And he told me that, and I was just like, wow, it's really interesting just seeing, because my parents don't really agree with the, with what I do right now. They're not against it. My mom doesn't whoop my ass for it, but she always like, yo, when you're gonna, grow up? Khalas, it's time to grow up and time to get a real occupation. And I'm just like, this makes me money, Mom. And she just doesn't, she doesn't understand how it does. I try to explain Spotify to her. I'll show her like my streams for the month and my statements of the money I make, and it just doesn't compute. I just feel like she thinks I'm making it all up.
I mean, how would you say that you would like to maybe raise your kids differently one day, inshallah?
Inshallah, if I have kids, or when I have kids, I want them to be proud of I want to do the same thing that my parents did, because at the time I hated them for it. Every Sunday, you get 2 days off and you're a kid, and then your mom's telling you got to go to school on Sunday, and you're just like, fuck this, and they were strict on us, man. We had to like learn Juz Amma at like 7 years old, or like they would throw like keys at us, and like it was just I'm not sure how old you are. I think I'm pretty sure we grew up around the same time, but yeah, like it was just different back then. Like they taught with fear, but
Yeah.
When you grow up, alhamdulillah, I know a lot of Arabs who don't even speak the language, and what I'm saying, the language gets lost within one generation. And I'm not the best, I don't speak the best Arabic, like I speak Mkassar, like, street language, but I could understand Fusha, and I could read and I could write it, and I want my kids to understand it and know how to be, especially because my wife is African American, and she's very supportive in her kid in her future kids, inshallah, learning the language as well.
Right. So how does your relationship play into your musical career?
My relationship with my wife.
Yes.
So a lot of my music, like I make a lot of songs that deal with my wife and the love that I have for her. My grandpa, in a sense, my mom would tell me stories of the way my grandpa would flirt with my grandma. Was he would basically like write her poetry, and she was like, and I'm not really sure what the actual word for it is, but like when the old men or like older men in the blood, like they play the tabla and they start rhyming words.
Yeah.
Like that's what my grandpa used to do. And my grandpa, Allah yarhamah, was blind for like, once he hit like 48, diabetes, and he was blinding, and he would just like off his head in Arabic with the tabla for like 30-40 minutes straight. And I don't exaggerate.
Wow.
So my mom said, like, if she hears a song, she's not really involved in like the music making process, but she was like, she'll always be like, "Inte they see that like he tried to woo your grandma with like poetry, and I feel like you're doing it in just like a different way." So a lot of my music is inspired by her, especially when I grew up. Back when I was single and stuff, my music, you could even go back to the catalog, was way way less mature than it is now. And I keep that old music on platforms and stuff just to kind of gauge my, the growth. So you could kind of see the growth,
Right.
So yeah, she plays a very big role in, I made a whole EP that was dedicated to her. It's called I Still Love You. And it's just, a compilation of songs that I wrote, inspired by her.
Right. So what's your biggest inspiration when creating your work?
Oh man, that's a big one. Wallah, man, my biggest inspiration is, I think, kids that grew up like us, whether they be Arabi, whether they be African, whether they be Asian. I'm just first generation Americans. I feel like there's a lot of unrealistic expectations that are placed on us just because we were born here, and our parents come from such a different time and such a different environment. I mean, a lot of our parents grew up in war and poverty and famine, and they try to bring their ideologies to America. And one of the big things is school, which I did graduate from college, alhamdulillah. But a lot of first generation parents are like, yo, like, this is what I want you to be. I want you to be a pharmacist. I want you to be a doctor, or I want you to be an accountant, and that's it. Like, those are the only noble professions in our cultures. And that goes for African culture and Asian culture. And it's, and I know it comes from a good place because our parents, they like to think that money and happiness are correlated. So they're like, yo, if he gets a good job and he's making 6 figures a year, khalas, he's going to be happy. But I think our generation is starting to understand that, you could dollars a year and be miserable in the occupation that you're in. So I do it for people who grew up like who grew up first generation, and I think we need to be represented more, especially Palestinian and Arabs in general. We need to be represented in the arts more, and I think a lot of us are scared. Subconsciously, they're scared. I know so many talented Arabs and Africans and first generation people who just have a hobby that they're so good at, but they never pursued it because they were scared what their parents might think. I'm talking about painters and singers and poets and things of that nature, and they work like a desk job because it's like, khalas, this is security, and our parents attribute financial security to happiness. And I think let's say we're getting to the point where it's one of those situations is somebody has to lead by example. And I'm not saying I'm the one leading by example. There were people before me who took leaps of faith, and you know what I'm saying? Like, shout out to Fairuz and Kulthum, and these get people from, the early 1900s, what was it, 1920s or 30s, who paved the way and stuff. But I mean, historically, out of our thinkers, they're great thinkers. Algebra came from that guy Jabir, I think that was his name. Fuck him for inventing algebra, but still, he's a thinker, And he did, and there were poets, and it's just that up. And I think there needs to be a renaissance, a new renaissance started where more kids, especially first generation Americans, contribute to the arts more.
Yeah. So, do you have a process that you follow when creating your art?
I usually memorize. So I've been doing this for 10 years now. So I usually memorize my lyrics now at this point. So songwriting, I'll get in my car, and wherever I'm driving to, I'll play the same instrumental, over and over again, and just come up with basically a song structure while I'm driving. It's not safe. It's not the safest way to write a song, because usually I'm out of it. Like, I'll forget I'm driving and I'll just run a red light or some shit. But
okay.
Yeah, it's not a safe way, but that's how I usually write my songs while I'm in motion. And I try to convey that in the record, because I think my songs have a lot of movement to them and a lot of bounce to them, and I try to make sure that the song, the musicality and the production.
Yeah. Do you have a song that you'll never forget creating?
Yeah. Usually it's kind of like a dream, because it only takes. You could spend weeks on learning a song and trying to come up with words, but it only takes 3 minutes, 3 minutes to record it. And once you record it, it's your voice is immortalized. It's there forever. And but I remember one song called "Lord Please," and it was basically I was kind of going through a depression, and and after college and stuff, and this is when I kind of stopped doing music. And it's called "Lord Please," and it was basically a letter to myself, to my mom, to Allah, and just a really good song that I feel conveyed my emotions at the time. It's hard to listen to now because I'm not in that place anymore. Alhamdulillah, it was kind of a lower place, but it really can capture that moment. And that record, I actually do say explicitly, I'm Palestinian.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like throwing hints in there and stuff like that. I don't want just one thing to define who I am. I don't want people to say, "Oh, you mean Phay, the Palestinian rapper?" I want it to be, I'm an artist who just happens to be Palestinian. I'm saying I'm an artist who just happens to have went to college. I'm an artist who just happens to be from Atlanta. I want it to be one of those fun facts where when you do learn about it, it's super cool because it's not in the forefront, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who maybe don't know what your music sounds like or what your art is like in general, how do you describe your music?
As of late, I feel like my music has this bounce to it. It's very melodic. Luscious piano chords and 808s, kind of like that southern 808 sound. And it's very melody driven. Sample driven as well, in terms of old school music that people love. I've sampled certain artists and stuff like that, like TLC back in the 90s. I'm big on 90s music, especially R&B and stuff, and try to incorporate those in my songs and stuff like that, paying homage and trying to make the most of the record and make the original creator proud if they were to ever hear it. So not just copy it, but try to make it my own.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's kind of a lighter feel to it. It's I aim to kind of invoke some type of emotion in people. Whether it's like I want them to feel the emotion that I was feeling when I was recording the song. So if it's a song that is happy, I want people to listen to it and feel warm inside. If it's a song that's cold and sad, I want it to convey that feeling.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's mostly happy stuff. It's happier, uplifting stuff. You know, I like to say it's like it's basically a lot of shit that happens in, you know, our lives and our realities and stuff. But usually sometimes when it's on like a lighthearted beat, you know what I'm saying? It's like something negative on a silver platter type situation.
Yeah.
Like there are things of, you know, gun violence and you know, some of my friends I went to high school with are locked up or, you know, or passed away, home and things of that nature. And I try to, you know, I like the juxtaposition of a beat that sounds super bright and happy, and then the subject matter is kind of dark. So I really like kind of playing with that juxtaposition a little bit.
Yeah. So what's it like being Palestinian in this industry?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what it's like to be. I mean, it's not something I lead with. Remember,
Yeah.
I do realize that there are a lot of, you know what I'm saying, there are a lot of Jewish people in the industry, whether it be lawyers or people in higher positions. I'm not sure if that stunts any of my growth or my progress. I don't believe it does, but I do believe if I was sitting there waving a Palestinian flag in every video, I would be blackballed, you know, and have like 12 streams per song. But I don't know if this stunts my growth or anything, but I think as Palestinian, we could really bring a unique perspective, especially being born in America and seeing the parallels between, you know, police violence here with black people and brown people, and, you know, going to Palestine and seeing the occupation in real time, and how young Palestinian males are, you know, saying, targeted by soldiers and stuff like that. So I think we could, and that's why I don't understand in our culture, and it's a lot of cultures, it's from, you know, Eurocentric ideals, but like people really have a negative connotation towards black people all around the world. Not just out of countries, but there is a racism that out of people hold almost historically. It's almost, you know, just, you know, the words that how we refer to black people, you know.
Yeah.
The Abid word, which Abid means slave, literally. And I know a lot of like Ammas and stuff would try to be like, oh, well, we don't mean any harm by it, and we've been saying it, but it's completely wrong, and it's rooted in racism. And it doesn't make sense for me that, you know what I'm saying, for a Palestinian person that lives in an occupation that's targeted every day by a soldier, it doesn't make sense that they cannot make the correlation between themselves and African Americans who are also facing very similar oppressions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And oppressions that have been around here for 400 years. You know, Palestine has been facing oppression since 54. Was it 54 or 45?
48.
48. I'm tripping.
No, you're good.
The menu ought to be, yeah, okay. Now it's making sense. Oh, yeah, so 48. But think about that times, you know, times 8.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important that we understand the correlation between each other's struggles. The plight of African Americans here and the plight of the young Palestinian that are just trying to live their lives in Palestine.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that you're bringing up this topic, because I really wanted to ask you, you know, on the topic of racial injustices, what are your thoughts on the current state of the country when it comes to police brutality?
So, it's nothing new. It's just being publicized more. A lot of people are waking up and using their technology and their phones to you know, capture these moments, but these moments have been going on, like I told you, since the foundation of this country. And this country was founded on genocide and rape and torture. And not to sound like a super activist, but that's just what it was. And we were taught when we were kids to revere people like Christopher Columbus, who was a pioneer, and he brought his ship over here, and his dumbass didn't even know where he was going. He thought he was in he thought he was in India. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like he just randomly came across this place and spread a whole bunch of disease and famine, and you know what I'm saying? And you look at Native Americans now in this country, and they're the worst off racial group. Native Americans are they're the worst off racial group in America. They have the highest percentage of alcoholism and addiction and suicide rates, and they have the lowest median income compared to any group in America. And you know what I'm saying? This is what this country was founded on. Right. And it's always been bloodshed. There's always been racism. I mean, the slave trade. People are taking innocent black people randomly, and they stacked them like sardines on a ship, and they came here against their will. You know, and it's just it's the situation that's been going on. That's just the history of this country. And anybody who says otherwise is super just in denial. And I know it's like, you know, be proud and stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance and stuff like that. But when you understand the historical context of this country, you just kind of start to side-eye it. And it's not something that's new. I mean, it's a terrible thing. I can't even watch these videos anymore. Because one, I feel like I've become desensitized to black people being killed on camera. And you know what I'm saying? Like we see it every week, and desensitized to that. Yeah. I'm saying that it's not normal to see dead. Just like in Palestine, it's not normal. These kids in Gaza and stuff like that, who suffer from PTSD, who suffer from anxiety and depression. And I think it was like there was a crazy statistic like where 80% of the younger kids there who witness of course they've witnessed bombings and things of that nature and killings, but they don't have the desire to live anymore. Yeah. You know? And I just think watching videos, you know what I'm saying, online of, you know, Rashard Brooks or Ahmaud Arbery or these things that are captured, it's just gruesome. And I think they're important for people to watch, not black people, but other people to watch what's going on with them. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know, I've gotten to the point, I haven't watched the Ahmaud Arbery, I haven't watched Rashard Brooks, who literally is from right down the street where I'm at, you know, the Wendy's that burnt down is right down the street. And and the cop is all, you know, he just got off bail today. He got out on bail today. I don't know, it's just that's what this country was built on. And like I told you, there's a lot of things wrong with this country, and I don't want to seem like I'm anti-America because there's a lot. Because wallahi, I've been to third world countries. I know what they look like, and it's a blessing to be here, right? And our parents came here for a reason, but there are also things, and there are also systems in place to you know what I'm saying, to keep these things happening. Yeah.
So what do you think we need to do about that? Like all of these things going on?
Man, I'm a big believer in protesting works. Protesting works. I mean, I've been in the first 2 or 3 weeks of the whole situation. The Ahmaud Arbery. I was in Atlanta and at the protests, and every single day there were thousands of people, and it was such a beautiful thing to see. And then they brought the National Guard, and that's when Atlanta started looking like Palestine or occupied Palestine. When I literally saw tanks, and the last time I saw tanks on a city road was in Palestine. Wow. And it was just like, wow, they really brought the National Guard for this and stuff like that. But people's voices have been heard. as of late. You know what I'm saying? Where Keisha Bottoms, she's the mayor of Atlanta, and she's been like, you know, passing legislation for hate crimes and stuff like that with police. So, you know, just to basically have repercussions for killing an innocent person. So I feel like there's a lot of protesting that's going on that's helping. I feel like the main way to get some change is to hit, you know, the perpetrators in their pockets. So money is a huge thing. So whether you donate to the Black Lives Matter movement or any movement that's trying to combat racism, I think that's very important as well. You know, we need to stop spending our dollars and on companies that essentially hate us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And even Palestinian, man, like we need to stop spending our money where we're not wanted and where people hate us. It just doesn't make sense, you know? I mean, you saw what Starbucks did with the whole, you can't wear Black Lives Matter merch while you're working. And then they caught that flack and realized their business was about to plummet. And then they went back on the word and they're like, never mind. Because, no, this hurts. I mean, you're talking about money. That's what makes everything go. So if you hit people in their pockets, I think that's when they really start to listen, because it's morally, people aren't concerned about the moral. I mean, racist and institutional racism isn't concerned about, is this morally correct? They don't give a shit. They know it's not morally correct, but they don't care. They only care when it's tied to capitalism. And now you see every single company now on the commercials, Black Lives Matter, and it's just kind of like they're trying to sell this. They're trying to sell their product, and
it might not be sincere.
Yeah, and they're using the pain of Black people to advertise.
Yeah,
it's a terrible thing. So stop. We just need to stop spending our dollars where people don't like us. That's why I never understood. You know, there's a lot of companies that aid in the killings of, you know, of warfare, just warfare in general. You know, so our taxes go to armies. And I guess us living here, we're passively, you know, complicit with everything that's going on, but we really don't have a say-so in where our taxes go.
Right. So, switching gears a little bit here, I want to ask about like your music video process. So something that I saw that I thought was super cool was you recorded your music video for She's Mine at your actual wedding.
Yeah, that was like on the fly. That shit was crazy.
Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, so the woman who was like shooting our photos for the wedding, she was like, hey, my boyfriend shoots music videos, and I think it'd be cool if you guys did like a little music video to a Drake song or something. It's just something we do. And then, you know, just for like more content, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, oh, that's cool or whatever. And I kind of brushed it off. And then it hit me literally the day before the wedding. Oh, no, the day of the wedding, it hit me. Yo, I'm an artist. I have a song about my wife. I could shoot a music. We already paid X amount of money on this wedding. So it's hella production value that went into it. Why not spend a little bit more to get something to document it as a music video?
Yeah.
So I literally called him the day of. I was like, yo, are you still down? He was just, hell yeah. And it was just like one of those situations where it was on the fly. He literally came the day of and just act natural. And it was really cool because he did it in a way where only me and my wife knew that we were shooting the video.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So nobody else there knew?
Nobody at the wedding knew that there was a video being filmed. They just thought it was cool or something like that. And like he would take us outside and during different situations, or he would like, you know, put the phone with the music on just so the lyrics could sync together. And I love the premise because it literally looked like we were kind of in our own world while getting married. And everybody else that was there was the background kind of, you know what I'm saying? And it worked out really well. I thought the video was going to go stupid viral, to be honest with you. I really didn't have any expectations of it, but it picked up some traction, and it did pretty big numbers on Twitter and YouTube. So it was really cool, man, just to capture that moment. I don't even think I've seen my actual real wedding video. like the traditional one. I think it's just every time I want to relive that moment, I just watch the music video.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Like, did you kind of have like a vision for it prior? Like, I mean, I know you said it was like on the fly, but did you like have any like in post production? Did you have any like say in how it looked, or was it just like a surprise?
So it was one of those things where it was just on the fly, literally. Like, we got like the Palestinian depth kit team. It was just, a wedding is a production in itself. It has different phases, like the walk-in, the entrance, the first dance, the cake cutting. So that was pretty much the premise of the video. I mean, it was organized that way.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. Can we talk about your brand, Mama?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that was my first album, and my first album, Mama, was I'm like a typical out-of-be kid, like where I'm just like a mama's boy. I love my mom to death. Like she's amazing. She taught me. I love my dad too, but my mom, especially for out-of-be man, like there's always that stereotype where like Arab moms baby their sons and they could never be wrong. My mom never enabled me that way, but she was always kind of, have my back in certain situations. So just have a very strong love for my mother. In Islam, they say heaven's under the feet of your mother. And I want the best for her. And I wanted to dedicate an album to her. And the album kind of, took off and had legs of its own. And the merch line, I launched the merch line right after. This would look tight on a shirt. So I started designing like a chenille patch and stuff like that and selling them. And I was like, yo, people really like this stuff because I don't know many people that don't like their mom. Yeah. I'm sure there's people out there, but a lot of people are like, yo, what is that? If they don't know what it means, what's Lolo? Because it's like meme elif, right?
Yeah.
And they read it left to right. And I was like, no, it means mama in Arabic. Actually spells mama in Arabic. Like, oh, that shit's tight. Can I get one? For people who don't who don't know what it means. And then for the Arab, of course, they get it for themselves and their moms. And it's just like, it's a brand that kind of took a life of its own. And it's just, what I try to represent my mom everywhere I go. With my character and things of that nature, what she taught me. And everybody, they rep their favorite sports teams and their cities on their hats and stuff. And I was like, why not represent your mom like on some merch? So it's one of those things where it's kind of like it doesn't matter how macho you think you are or how hard you think you are. You're always gonna have a soft spot for the woman who raised you.
Yeah. So is this merch still available?
Yeah, we sold of the last so it was the winter and fall collection. Damn, we're already in July. I was supposed to have a summer collection, but with the whole COVID thing, all these warehouses shut down. And they're just now slowly starting to pick back up again. So I know I have a couple like larger sizes available and like hoodies and stuff like that. Especially in Chicago, it starts getting cold like super early. You guys can start getting cold in like a month and a half. But yeah, like so there's certain there's like XL and double XL sizes available, a few of those. But inshallah, I'm gonna re-up on the merch on whenever these warehouses are up and running again.
Yeah, so you have a lot going in your career. What would you hope comes next?
Well, man, I used to have like very lofty goals. The younger I was, like, I want to be famous. I want to be a worldwide name. I want to be a superstar. And now I just kind of want peace, if that makes sense. I want to be known for my craft, and I want to be respected and for my craft. And I want to make more money than I'm making now. That'd be great. More money is always good, right? Yeah. But like, just enough. I mean, alhamdulillah, like this is what I do, right? So this is how I make my living. But like, if, doing what I'm doing now kind of like times 3 would be like an amazing goal to, because right now there's a lot of people are like, whoa, you're living the dream now, like you're doing what you love and you paying your bills. And I was just like, yeah, but then like that's all you're doing is paying your bills. You know what I'm saying? It's just like,
I
that's
get
all I got. So to have like extra money to kind of be free to do what you want and invest, and you know what I'm saying, and be set up for your life, and not just your life, but your, you know, the next generations to come. I think that's really important. And I don't think you need to be super famous and have millions and millions of dollars. I just think you just need to create a catalog that, you know what I'm saying, that you keep making residual income off of, and you get big enough for you to always make money. They say Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas makes millions of dollars every season.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? So that's a song she made 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Every year from October to December, that 3-month period, she's getting $4 or $5 million of residual income off of a song. So,
Crazy. I mean, everybody loves that song.
that's what I'm saying. We love that song. We don't celebrate Christmas.
I know. That's the funny part. Even I blast at that time of the year.
Yeah, we love it.
So what advice would you give to maybe other young Palestinians or young people in general that would like to pursue any type of artistic career, but maybe they have kind of obstacles in their way?
Yeah, so I feel like the biggest obstacle with young Palestinians who want to do, you know, art is their parents. You know,
Yeah.
and especially women. I know a lot of women in our culture get it really bad. They're just super strict on, you know, the boys get away with a lot. Men get away with a lot, right? And like, but with women, it's just like there's always a scope on them. And I think it's even harder for Palestinian women to do what they want to do as well. Because like, you know, Arabi men especially are very intimidated by a strong woman. Yeah. It's kind of like one of those things where it's like, I feel like as a parent, you should hone in on the skill that your child is doing. And of course, not just like fund all of their hobbies. Dad, I want to be a ballerina today. And then the next day she becomes a swimmer. And then the next day, you know, somebody that's always changing. But if you really see your kid is excelling in a certain area of the arts or sports or something like that, try to hone in on that. You know what I'm saying? And encourage, because encouragement goes a long way. How many times have you wanted to do something, your parents just were like, no, that's stupid, and you just felt like shit afterwards?
Yeah, a lot.
You know, just like, and
I'll be honest.
Yeah, like a lot. You know what I'm saying? If you're like, hey, look what I did, and there's like, shoo maskhara, like, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? Like, are you making money? Because that's what it is. That's the, are you making money off this? No. But I think it takes a certain parent to realize when they're, I'm not saying like if your kid sucks at soccer and you just keep investing thousands of dollars into him thinking he's going to get better. No, they have to, of course, have some type of skill or talent. But if you see that, I feel like it's on the parents to hone in on that and encourage them. Even if the parents don't have all the money in the world, if they're living paycheck to paycheck, encouragement goes a long way. It's just the words, you know what I'm saying? And being like, you could do it, and being involved. And so I think it's really up to the parents. And I think young Palestinian kids and young first generation Americans should not stop dreaming. They should never think that something is unattainable, because, you know what I'm saying? My nephews now, I have one nephew who's like, he listens to my music, of course, and he's younger. He's like 7 or 8. So I let him listen to like edited versions of the music. And I'm like, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he's like, I want to be a singer like you and a YouTuber. Like, you know what? That's tight. I always say that music kind of chose me, if that makes sense. Like every time I would try to like go away from it, it would always find its way of pulling me back in. And like once I graduated college and got kind of like depressed from, you know, just that mundane, like everyday life of, you know, you got to get your 401k right, and just adulting.
Yeah.
Adulting in general is depressing because it's just like there's no end goal. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no like it's just like, okay, keep paying bills, get your 401k right, okay, get some equity, buy a house, have some kids, and it's just like, okay, what's the end?
Yeah.
Am I really impacting anyone's life, or is it just I'm working for someone else's dream and my own livelihood? So I think, just the impact that art has in general, not just music, the power that it has to impact other people.
Yeah.
I just think that's really, really, really important. And music always found it. I found my way back to music all the time. Even when I started off at 18, 19 as kind of like a joke, as a hobby. And it became this competitive thing. And then it became this thing where it was very therapeutic. And now it's this thing that I've made a career. So, alhamdulillah, I found me, you know what I'm saying? And that's how it happens for some people. Sometimes you got to go get what you want and you have to fight for it. But this is one of those things where it just kept poking me, you know what I'm saying? It found me.
Yeah, I've been given every little thing I asked for. I just wanna go to heaven with a passport. I know you got my back like a jam sport. Everybody live their life and fast forward.
Thanks again for listening to the Palestine in America podcast. What a great conversation between Yasmeen Sheikah, our contributor, and Atlanta-based rapper Phay. Hope you learned a lot about Phay, and if you'd like to learn about other Palestinian artists in the United States, go ahead and check out any of our other episodes from the Music Edition available at Spotify, Instagram TV, and YouTube. Thanks again for listening. I'm Editor-in-Chief Nader Ahmoud, and you were listening to the Palestine in America podcast.